Episode of Lab to Market Live, where we talk about the latest in business technology and the world of AI. With me, as usual, is Fuad Mia.
Hello, everyone.
It's been a while, Fuad. I think I'm not going to say it was COVID, but something got us both over the last couple of weeks.
We got consumed with work.
I'm not even going to call it that. I was sick as a dog. I don't know what was going on with you, but that was me.
I had I had tendencies of declaring COVID, non-COVID. It ended up no COVID. And now I'm doing good
Oof.
now. But you're right. It was so many things.
It's been a while.
It's-
Um, so what are we here for today? Today we are here to talk about the end of Universal Analytics. I got the email the other day from Google saying that they're going to wind down UA services on July 1st, 2023. And I'm sure that didn't alarm me because we've been aware of it for 5 or 6 years now. We had access to it from before it was called GA4, I believe you were saying.
It was like Firebase Analytics and then web and app analytics. Yeah, it had
Hmm.
different names, right?
All
But
the iterations, and now they've packaged it.
now I don't have the exact justification why analytics for. We know that Archain and then something else, and then UA, and then finally, actually, no, that makes sense. For
No, no, it is four. Yeah, that's been four. Urshan, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I used to be big into looking at that at my first websites. I'd log into my web hosting panel and I'd be like, "Ooh, how many visits did I get today on Urchin?"
I'd be honest, I didn't use Archain, but as soon as it got acquired by Google, that's when I jumped in. I was in the first wave. Let's try it out.
Honestly, I've been doing websites since I want to say 12 years old. I think my first website was, this is embarrassing to admit, a Pokemon fan site.
Oh wow, that sounds
Well,
good.
I was an ambitious kid, and I'm pretty sure it amounted to plagiarism because I was basically just transcribing some kind of guide. But neither here nor there. Actually, it didn't happen. Anyone that's listening, uh, but yeah. So I mean, I've been around the website stuff for how long does that make that? Almost 20 years.
Same here. Since I think the Archain that happened in 2005, 2006. So
That
it's
seems like
been,
a lifetime ago.
it does a little bit under 20 years, but yeah.
So let's give people a little bit of background. If for anyone that doesn't know, what is the purpose of analytics and what's the history of it a little bit? I mean, we've been saying urchin, urchin. That's seafood for some people. Uh, what is it all?
Well, in perspective of web analytics, coming from Archin, it is to track activities that take place on your website by your visitors to measure success of your business objectives. Now, these
Well,
actions could
that's
be, sorry, go
that's
ahead.
important, right? That's important. You got to have objectives and you got to have a way to measure them.
And if you can't measure them, then you have no clue what's working, what's not working. You have no idea,
Well, I think that's called guessing.
right? And for a long time, businesses worked on not necessarily guts, but on scientific, approaches to take the best decisions and so forth. But they were auxiliary-driven analysis.
Hmm.
With the introduction of analytics, that was taken away. Kind of, you had much more clearer sight what your visitors are doing and how that's translating into business goals, objectives. But yeah, that's what web analytics is.
So traditionally, has this been something that's easy to set up and use? Like, is this something that
It has
has like how accessible is this for people?
it has always been relatively pretty easy to take advantage of 60-70% of the features. For example, you drop a few lines of code and then it tracks certain clicks such as page view, where they come from, which page did they leave. I mean, you have quite a bit of information. But as you start exploring the benefits, you see more and more use cases to go deeper. to
Hmm.
measure custom interactions that really fit into your business model and drive um, uh, uh, visualization from which you can take immediate actions. Um,
So
and that
60% of the effort gets you maybe 20% of the way there is what it's traditionally been, just from
absolutely,
experience.
absolutely. And traditionally, we know that even though it was easy to get that much data, but it was mostly, as one of our gurus says, data puke. It was so much data, you didn't know what to do or where to start with, or how to even do analysis. With universal analytics, with a little bit of, not little, a lot had changed from the Archain analytics and universal analytics, you could actually bring in other types of not just web interactions, but interactions from sensors, offline stuff from the real world as well, and blend things. But there were a lot of other things that needed to change with everything that's happening right now, which is machine learning. Yeah.
Well, yeah, machine learning and AI, cloud adoption, the number of people that are actually using apps over websites now, because traditionally this type of analysis was more for, you know,
Web.
websites,
Right.
a computer and a web browser or a phone and a web browser. But the app universe has kind of expanded in the last decade. Um,
And and Justin, we have more and more need of other data sources and other intelligences that we need to put. And as you know, that universal analytics is, I mean, the free version had a fundamental limitation, which is data portability. You couldn't really take the data out of it, in a way that you could use it for machine learning. You had the API, but it was
Tableau
limited.
users lament.
Yeah, and but yeah, that the angle that you bring, the app stream and web stream, really blending uh, the real world use cases, because the way businesses now interact with their customers is not just website. It's actually web to applications, applications to web, and in between we'll talk about it. There may be other things like sensors and so forth.
I love sensors. I love beacons. It's the whole idea of this offline to online component of analytics, because in a lot of businesses, it's not a 100% online or offline process. It's often online discovery, in person purchasing, or in person discovery of more fact on your purchase, even. Um, so I mean, it's all one. I mean, your apps, your website, your store, your outreach. It's all it needs to be plugged into analytics in some way to make sense of it all.
I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves, giving all
Are
the.
we?
Are we? Or maybe we're not. But
Well, okay, right, right. Don't give out the secrets to the sauce. But listen, I'm right.
yes, agree.
Now, okay. Well, we'll back it up. Okay, there's another hot topic with GA4, and it's the privacy aspect. It's the end of the cookie, or at least mostly the end of the cookie, as I understand it. What
It is.
implications for a universal analytics user is there?
Well, I think businesses are forced to encourage, not forced, but they're encouraged to take adopt strategies that involve more first party data. And Google Analytics 4 solves some of those problems from removing the dependency from cookie-based marketing, which you will still be able to use for your own application for the experience that you drive from your zero-party data. But as you collect those data, you now would be able to bring those data into the warehouse, as well as with your analytics for data into the warehouse. And I mean, that's where really the magic starts happening, because now you can bring real-time data, real-time intelligence, like weather, your business supply chain, your shelf data, uh, your transactional data, and you can do complex queries, complex, analysis. And furthermore, in these warehouses, we're seeing more and more, Justin, data
Hmm.
warehouses like, for example, BigQuery. They're also including BigQuery ML-like capabilities, so that
Ooh,
you can now actually do forecasting, and
with a little bit of machine learning in there. Okay.
right, like you could actually use solutions like AutoML out of the box, and
Oh, now you're giving away secrets.
and then you can actually push it back almost in near real time to drive personalized experiences. These kind of possibilities, which also were very, at the very beginning of these technologies, you could do some of this using the Google Analytics Premium, for example, and you had to pay a very large licensing fee.
Mm.
That's been lifted up, right? So
Ooh,
now.
no more large licensing fee. Okay. So, how much does AI and machine learning play a part in GA4?
Within the platform itself, a lot. Starting with understanding what are the significant anomalies, and bringing that in front of you with context that, hey, we have noticed this falling off, and we're expecting this, should have been up above here. Uh, Take a look. Traditionally, you and I, as analysts, we would open our dashboard and it'd be like, okay, today we got to find something. Let's find a few things that we can
What
up,
segment am I going to build today?
right? Or we have this process, strategic process phases uh, of analytics maturity, and you have different touch or audits that you perform to graduate the corporation, the business from level of maturity, that is. But yes, those things would apply absolutely. But as you and I log in, we also can see these things that are happening right now that we need to look at without digging, or looking at our custom dashboard. So,
So, yeah, not to cut you off, but I just got my wheels turning here. So, is the analytics dashboard just for analysts now, or is it for some more decision makers at this point?
wow, um, you're absolutely right. We're looking at more and more of us not being needed on a daily basis. Business decision makers now would be able to have interpreted data to them,
Ooh.
so that they can actually not only understand what's happening, but also take an action from there, because they'll be given cues what to do.
And I think it started in UA. Simple querying, I mean, in plain English, is something that's been big for a while now and being expanded upon in GA4, correct?
Correct.
Natural language understanding coming in again, eh? Well,
And,
that's. Yeah, go ahead.
and I think that removes a lot of friction too for usage. If I can interact with a machine with natural language, and it gives me answers, and yeah, that would be actually a lot of value to a lot of us who don't want to learn how to use a certain UI.
It occurs to me that some of the best ideas in business and for entrepreneurs happen 10:30 and onward at night. So this is not time you could call up your analytics expert and ask them what is this, what's going on with this. I mean, that's
Hunting
awesome that.
insights. Yeah.
Yeah, time to insights. Exactly. I mean, you could get them almost instantly. All you have to do is have the question in your head, and you can, use that time you're spending up awake thinking about it anyway to actually, push some things forward. And that's a really cool dimension it's opening up for a lot of ownership and management.
Imagine an organization where almost everyone can use insights to take their decision, real time insights too.
Wow.
timely insights. Now let's again. I think we always go ahead of ourselves. What are some of the differences in universal analytics and analytics for in terms of fundamental data architecture, and why is it important to adapt it right now, not after a year when UA sunsets?
Oh, you mean the fact that you'll have zero data once you do it? Start running them in parallel now, people. You need to be gathering the data so you can actually work with it on day one.
And there's a lot to do, right? And the panic is, find that we see in some of the clients, customers that we deal with, and their friends that we are helping right now, rapidly adopting analytics for, is because they have built so much on analytics, universal analytics audiences. They have all these marketing strategies. They have all these, data collection strategies and so forth. And suddenly you see that universal analytics and analytics 4 is not the same. You can't really take your report, from here to there and boom, migration is done. I mean, just to
Well,
give
yeah.
you,
I mean, yeah. I think I know what you're gonna say. Go for it.
like, for example, let's say, well, there's stories about it. Bounce rate, right?
Ooh, that's a
Ooh.
dirty word. That's a dirty word.
So let's say your CEO wants to see bounce rate. It would be, that's not there anymore. And for the right reasons, right? It was a very bad metric. It didn't really translate into anything. But you have similar metrics that will help you justify not only how many people leaving a page, but even more. Now, to understand the fundamental differences is that in universal analytics, you had different types of different level of hits, or sorry, different types of hits. In analytics 4, it's all the same in terms of events. So you can actually compare everything with everything. In universal analytics, you had, for example, page view hit. You couldn't really compare that with conversion. It's not the same thing. And
Yeah, it's
and it was
that's
very.
that's that's apples to I don't know, kiwis.
But fundamentally, you need to compare that. I need to understand how this page is contributing, to conversion, and all those things were somewhat auxiliary driven kind of calculation that you had to do. But right now, it's just so much more easier for you to lay one over the other and compare everything with everything, because everything is events, and that makes.
Event based. Can we unpack that statement? What does switching to event based uh, even mean?
Well, in this context, you are you have hit both in universal analytics and analytics 4, but the difference is that every hit is an event.
Mm-hmm.
And in universal analytics, you had different types of events. For example, the custom event that had values like, for example, category, action, label, and value, and so forth. Here, your event has parameters, many more, that you can actually add as affinity of that event. And it's just, and
That sounds a lot better than some of the stuff we used to have to do, like our fake hits and stuff.
right, and every action is an event. Therefore,
Mm.
your standard of data of these actions is the same across, and that makes machine learning so much more easy and possible because of data standardization
Mm. Yes.
and meaningness. Right? It's, I mean, meaningful. It's so much more meaningful. Yeah. So because the data collection model is fundamentally different. Here you have different categories of hits. Here you don't have any categories of hits. That makes a big difference. in terms of migrating your reports to reports. That wouldn't work. We have to find middle grounds, how we can translate the same measurement, and if not better, but with that objective. And that will take some strategy. That will take
It,
some.
it also it also to a degree changes some of your data collection as well, because there's a little bit more thoughtful and manual work that would go into that. Correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, your action parameters could be as creative as possible versus you were.
And as granular, right? Because I mean, if I only care about a specific portion of the page,
Mhm.
if I'm going by hits, I mean, the page has been hit.
Right,
Whereas I can get a specific events, you can get scroll events, you can get mouse over events, you can get click events. I mean, you can do that now, but this is the meat and potatoes of GA4. It's what's intended to be used.
and GA4 actually has done some other great stuff for that for the segment of businesses who just want to drop the code and get amazing amount of data. Right now, out of the box, you actually get some enhanced metrics such as scrolling. And now
That used to be a pain.
I believe PDF downloads and few others that actually come right out of the box. It recognizes those actions and it will report to you, which were
Very handy.
custom in Universal Analytics. You had to
Yep.
hire engineers to custom trigger those events and actually manage those too, right? They were fluid, dynamic, everything changes. So manageability, that's something else as well. With with, with Analytics 4, I think the bigger things that we have to know is that collection is easier, better, faster, more is privacy friendly, and it opens up tremendous amount of other business capabilities. We have come to know the real benefits of cloud. Imagine from supply chain and all this perspective, time to insights and so forth. Uh, that now is all possible without that much, effort, so that you can apply it in your business.
Well, and like you were saying, I mean, GA4 is an integral part of the ecosystem if you're in a cloud-based situation. I mean, all these Google services talking to each other now. I mean, GA4 has a huge emphasis on apps,
Right.
um, and like you said, BigQuery, which is and Firebase, all integral to any kind of app development. And one of the big things that I keep seeing about GA4 is that it's really re-emphasizing that mobile apps are the way of the future, and mobile devices are the way of the future. I think they have something like 96% of people in the UK, for example, was one statistic I saw, are using mobile phones to access these websites and apps.
Well,
So,
that's an amazing point. That as your customers are everywhere, and your analytics platform need to be able to understand different types of behavior in different environment, web app versus app versus when they're wearing wearables, for example, and businesses need to really understand customers, how they interact with you across all of these different touch points in a meaningful way. You can't really isolate, and Analytics 4 has really solved that very
well,
well.
yeah, I mean, universal analytics. I mean, you had the disparate analytics systems for everything you had, right?
Yeah.
Whereas GA4 is kind of putting it all in one place so you can gain better insights.
Yes.
So, I mean, okay, I'm a business owner, and I'm aware of the fact that I'm not using GA4. What do I do, and how quickly?
Well, I think if you have an internal tech team, the first thing you should do, hang up right away, and even at this point, and talk to them to put the code at least. Uh, where there's actually a process of in parallel putting Analytics 4 right now, and start with that, and then go back a step and think, get to learn more, get your tech team to get to know more, and if needed, talk to a consultant, analytics consultant. That'll help you rapidly leverage. You don't have much time, as you know, especially if you are dependent on data. If you have built audiences, you will need some time to actually do that without compromising much. As time goes, you'd be losing a lot in terms of starting very mature on analytics 4 or starting fresh. And yeah, then you don't have your data leverage and so forth. So yeah, that's I think those should be the priorities. Hang up, put the code,
Get right off of this.
and reassess. I mean, assess your capabilities of migration, understanding, transformation. Educate your team how to use analytics for, how to understand, to measure the business objectives, because there are some differences, fundamental differences, and from there, yeah, every day you will actually understand it better as you have those data populating. And
You know what, Fuad? I figured I'd do the plug for the day job here. As everyone should know, we're part of Uncanny Lab Limited. This
yes,
is the type of stuff we do every day. So the actual answer is get off of this and give us a call, a contact, whatever.
yes, and we'll be able to help you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always interesting to see people's workflows and then help them through it. Some of them are wild, some of them are inspiringly complex, and I just love it.
Absolutely. And I think the concept of analytics is not very difficult to understand, but it's difficult to execute, and it's difficult to extract insights. And I think a lot has progressed. If we can manage the culture and start ourselves looking at data, uh, businesses could flourish.
Absolutely. And like it shocks me today how many people aren't making data-driven decisions. I think it was something like 32% of businesses are doing their decisions,
Well,
based on data.
I had a case where we worked really hard to put enhanced e-commerce working so that we can understand the cart behavior, what people are removing, what people are adding along the journey of buying. And the customer didn't understand the value. So they just wanted a report which product is being sold and how many of it. So, so I think understanding the value is fundamentally
Yeah,
needed now.
it really is, because even in that scenario, when you think about it, like, yeah, you can tell how many you sold, but you don't know how you sold them. You don't know what journey they took to acquire that sale. And more importantly, the things that didn't sell. Why didn't they sell? Where was the roadblock?
Well, imagine I started with apples in my cart, and that's why I came to the site for. But as I go through the journey of the cart, I see on my site menu that you're selling lychees as well. And I'm like, you know what? I only have money for lychees now, or I decided to pay only for one thing. I changed my mind. I added lychees to the cart now, removed the apple, proceeded with lychees. Now my CEO would be saying, wow, the lychees are sold, right? The people who are running the lychees campaign, boom, they won. They're wrongly attributing the acquisition credit to a complete wrong thing. It was actually a destruction, rather, caused by the shopping cart where it was misplaced. So
Well, I love this door crasher idea, because I mean, this is how grocery stores work. I mean, in the summer, they're not packing the front of the store with cheap watermelon because it's summertime. They're packing the store with cheap watermelon because you're going to go buy that cheap watermelon, and then you're going to go, all right, I need some paper towel, I need some things to barbecue. got to get buns with that. It's you have to understand the holistic journey of why people buy things. Whereas like it doesn't matter what they buy. It's why they did it, how they got there. All these questions that help you sell more next time.
And actually, that brings another conversation. A lot of the whys that we used to emphasize on understanding a lot, some of those things we don't have to anymore too, because as long as you get the results, you get the results. So, in that regards, for example, Google Ads, it just simply asks you what you are trying to sell, and tell us your conversions. If your analytics is properly set, we'll understand all of these data points, and it will drive the right people to the site at the right time.
I feel like there was a very big important thing to emphasize there. If your analytics is set up correctly, but keep going.
Well, exactly, garbage in, garbage out. And so my point is that there's more and more automation is coming, and it would be difficult to compete with machines at certain things, such as humans, we cannot see 5,000 different variables together to make a decision, but a machine can consider almost infinite number of variables to come to a proper decision. And and if we do not, let's say from this example, if we don't put those proper variables in the front of the machine is going to make suboptimal decision,
Maybe even wrong decisions.
maybe even wrong decision. So that's where making sure that the data that you are producing and presenting to your models are more qualitative than ever before, because now you can't just you're not relying on a human to use their common sense to take that off, although that could be argued that's coming soon too, that machines would understand the common noises very easily. But yeah, it's more important than ever before to collect qualitative data, to collect and not only collect but also categorize the data. Meaning, you have to tell which are the conversions, for example, what action is what, label the data. That is, yeah.
That is amazing. And I guess that's a good segue into a future show we're doing. I believe we're having your friend and mentor, Avinash Koshik, on, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about things like that. What date is
Yes.
that again? Is that on the 14th of July?
It is on 14th of July, 1 p.m. EST, with Avinash Kaushik, the guru of analytics. And as you know, he's the masterminder in terms of uh, uh, what analytics is, Google Analytics is, from all the way the age of Archon to now. So I think we're going to find a lot of insights, not only how it is today, but what we are heading into in the future.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure everyone's going to look forward to that. And you know what? Let's not go too far into this. I don't want to cut his grass, so to speak.
Yes.
So let's. I think this is a great spot to stop at. So just to cap it off, anyone who's not on GA4, get on GA4. Anyone who doesn't have a plan for it, talk to us. We'll help you.
We can help. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been another episode of Lab to Market Live. If you have any questions or comments, shoot us an email, comment on the video. You know how to reach us. Have a good one.